Hey songwriters, welcome to week 1 of Songwriting Foundations. This week we're going to be talking about chord progressions. Chord progressions are a really fun way to start getting into songwriting because they are incredibly important to songs, very, very foundational, but they also let us jump straight in and start creating right away. So first, we're going to answer a few questions just about key vocabulary to make sure we're all speaking the same language. So we're going to answer, what is a chord? And go from there, talk about what is a key signature. By the end of this lesson, we're going to be writing our own chord progressions. That's our goal. So let's get started. We're going to start with, what is a chord? So chords are, in the most simple term, they're a group of notes that are played together. Most of them sound good. Some of them could not, right? They could sound tense. They could sound angry. They could sound sad, happy, anything you want, right? All of these different groupings of notes will sound differently, but they're all unified in being called chords. Now, what we're going to worry about for today, we're not going to get into all of the chord types. We're just going to talk about the two most important chord types, and these are major chords, which sound nice and light and happy. And we're going to talk about minor chords that sound darker and sadder. Okay. So now that we know what a chord is, it's important to know what a chord progression is. And a chord progression is a repeating pattern of chords that forms the foundation for a song. So you might have a repeating section for the chorus of a song, and you might have a different repeating pattern for the verse of a song. But the idea is that we have an order of chords, and we're going over and over through that same order to build the rest of the song. Next up is, what is a key signature? Like a chord is a group of notes, but now we're playing them separately. So in music, we have 12 independent notes, but typically we're not going to play all 12 of those in a song. We're going to pick a smaller subset of 7 notes to use while we write our music. So these are all the notes laid out in front of us, but just the ones underlined in green are the ones we're going to use when we're thinking in C major. All right. So now that we have a little bit of knowledge about chords and keys, we're going to talk about chord families. And diatonic is a fancy word that just means it's all in the same key. So we'll just say chord families here. But to answer this, we're actually going to have a little bit of a change of scenery. So we're at the piano to talk about diatonic chord families because the piano offers a really nice visual of how these work. For this exercise, we're just going to look at the white keys. If we play the white keys all in a row, they form a key, and specifically the key of C major. So to build this diatonic chord family, we're going to use this chord shape, and we're just going to move it up through all of the notes in our key. And if you look a little bit closer, you see that even though these all look the same, there's some slight differences which causes them to sound different. So in this one, you see that there are 3 keys between the keys that we're playing, and 2 on top. If we move it up here, we have 2 here, and now we have 3 on here. And this is the difference between major chords that sound a little bit lighter, and minor chords that sound a little bit darker. So if we build chords all the way up, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and a special one called B diminished. We're not going to worry about this one quite yet, but we'll use it later when we talk about chord progressions again in a few weeks. So when we make our own chord progressions, the great thing about a diatonic chord family is that we can take these chords and put them in any order, and they're going to sound good together because they're all using that same underlying key of C major. Right? We can basically shuffle them randomly, and it'll all work out. So here is our C major chord family written out. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor. We're going to use these as our basic 6 chords for writing chord progressions. Choosing from this basic 6, we have 2 really important decisions. We're going to figure out what order to put the chords in, and we're going to figure out how long are we staying on each chord. Right? So here are 2 chord progressions I've written. And it's important to note this little 4/4 signal here. And what that means is that in each of these bars, we're going to be counting to 4. Now, what speed we count to 4 is up to us. We can choose. But the 4 count is important. So this chord progression on top is going to sound like this. We're going to start with a C, 2, 3, 4. A minor, 2, 3. F, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. And that could be our chord progression. Totally fine chord progression. But we see that we have a little bit of a problem down here now, right? So before, we just knew that these all got 4 because these lines telling us that these are each getting a measure. But now we have chords sharing a measure, and there's a lot of different ways 2 notes could share a measure of 4, right? It could be 2s and 2s. It could be 3 and 1. So when you're writing chord progressions, I want you to make note of how these break up. And just over the top, give yourself some notes. So here it's saying the 3, we stay on the C chord for 3 counts. A minor is 1 count. So this progression would sound like this. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you see how the different numbers of counts let us get a little bit more intricate in our writing, which can be cool. Now, don't confuse intricate for good. Simple songs can be fantastic. Complex songs can also be fantastic. What's more important is that it fits what you're trying to accomplish as a storyteller in your own song. So do what feels right. Don't make things complicated just to make them complicated. Do it if the song is better because of it. So that wraps up the lesson for this week, but I'll go into more detail about what we're doing for the assignment and writing our own chord progressions in the next video. All right, thanks for watching, songwriters.